how to install a power supply into your computer. First, make sure that you use an ESD mat to prevent shock to yourself and to your equipment. Make sure that you always have an ESD mat and it is connected to the computer, and you make sure that you have and use ESD bags or anti-static bags. Of course, always make sure that you are properly grounded. Pull out the top cover and check the inside of the computer. At this time, you will see that the power supply has 4 screws in the rear and it needs to be removed. Remove all the back panel screws. Make sure you keep them in this location using a screwdriver. Next, check your new power supply into the bag and make sure that it has the right connectors that you are wanting in the proper wattage. Otherwise, it will fail and you will not be able to disconnect it or connect the power supply to your system. You can and make sure that all connection to the hard drives are disconnected. There is no need to remove the motherboard. This is a picture of the power supply with the motherboard removed. It is not necessary to do so. Check and make sure that you have the proper connections. These are samples of the proper connections. These are for IDEs, hard drive, and CD/DVD drive. This is a picture of the power supply to the motherboard. Take a look at the notch. It needs to be forward. To replace the power supply to the motherboard, make sure that it is correctly connected and the latch is in the front. It can only go one way. Do not force it. You should also have taken out the hard drive and the floppy drive connectors and cables. They are easily identified by the color, blue or black. Some newer models also have what they call the SATA connectors. Some systems now have CPU fans on the inside to keep the system cool. This would be a good time to replace them also. Make sure that you have the power supplies, connectors, and that you connect the CPU processor. It is a 4-slot as shown and can only go in one way. Pay attention to the slot and the locking. Now this is for SATA drives, which is the newer type. Here is an easily way to recognize FDDI or R drives, usually blue, and the notch on the cables. This is a combination IDE and SATA power drive. As you notice, the SATA is black and the IDE is white or clear. Make sure that the IDE power connectors are slotted correctly. They can only go one way, so it doesn't fit. Turn it around. Make sure it's corrected. There's only one slot that it goes into. Some newer systems have large megabyte or large drive connectors. Make sure it's the right size. It will not work without it. Again, make sure your power to the drive is slotted correctly. As shown, that's the power to your hard drive. Make sure that it is connected, and make sure that all your power cables are reconnected back if they were. If need be, you can always mark the cables with a little tag. But with experience, you will recognize the difference between the hard drive and the floppy drive connectors. Here is a sample of the multiple connectors that you can have from the power supply. The power to the CPU is integral. It is with the 4-pin power slot connector. If you cannot find or you cannot use this one, your CPU will not function. Once you are done, reconnect all your PCI file or PCI cards or AGP cards as shown, and then you are now ready to resume the power supply install or finish it.